Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1328.
If you can dream it, you can do it.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, automotive enthusiasts. I'm revved up and so excited to introduce today's very special guest calling in from Billericay, UK. Did I say that right, Richard?
You did, yes.
There we go, Richard Francis. Richard, are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
I sure am.
All right. Richard Francis has been producing his blog, motorsportformentalhealth.com, since 2015. He created the blog to raise awareness for mental health issues within the automotive community to help others who are going through some difficult times within the automotive community and motorsports. Having suffered himself with a mental breakdown at the age of 19 in January of 2013, he discovered that pursuing motorsports encouraged him to push through his challenges, his fears, and his insecurities. And as a result, he started his own business, traveled around the world, expanded his social relationships, and became a better and stronger version of himself. I love this story. I can't wait to dive into this. Richard, I've told our listeners just a little bit about you, kind of a teaser to get things going here today. Could you take a brief moment before I jump into the questions and share a little bit more about your career and a very obvious passion that you have for automobiles and motorsport?
Yeah, it's definitely a passion, and Motorsport for Mental Health is very much a passion project. It's given me some wonderful opportunities, such as coming onto this podcast, and as you say, it's allowed me to travel the globe, meet some wonderful people, and hopefully the blog has put a smile on people's faces, which is all I can ask of it, really.
Well, absolutely. You know, this is near and dear to my heart because a lot of the reason I started the Cars Yeah podcast was to promote others and help others who aren't having fun in the field of motorsports and cars and trucks and bikes, and help them realize that there's a lot of people on this planet that have figured out how to have careers in it and have a really fulfilling life. So I think this is really great. It ties into what Cars Yeah is all about, and I love helping people, and that's what you do, Richard. So as we continue on your journey, I always like to start by asking my guests for a success quote or a mantra. It's a nice way to get the inspirational tires turning here on Cars Yeah. So Richard, take the wheel.
Yeah, absolutely. Enzo Ferrari once said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And that's very much been something that I've sort of lived my life towards.
Yeah, absolutely. How have you incorporated that into what you're doing now with your blog?
Well, just some of the different places I can go to. I went to Formula Drift Atlanta earlier this year, which, you know, I never thought in a million years I'd have the confidence to go that far by myself. But I thought, no, this is something I want to do, and this is something I'm going to do. And as it goes, if you can dream it, you can do it. If you think about something that you want to do with enough work and enough motivation, it can be done.
You know, it's absolutely true. And I love that quote by him. In fact, I like it so much that I created a meme. I bought a set of tiles, Ferrari tiles that actually came out of the Ferrari factory. And if you go to the old Ferrari factory, you'll see these yellow tiles that have the Cavallino horse in the center of the tile. And I bought a set of these from a guy. I ended up giving them away as a Christmas present. But I took some pictures of them and I created a meme using that quote on that tile to commemorate Enzo Ferrari and that saying. And it's a bit cliche, but it's absolutely true. And I think as we go through this talk with you today, you're living proof that, you know what, if you can dream it, you can do it. You just got to want to hard enough and you got to find a way to do it, but you can make it happen. I would love to go back in time and have you share a story that instigated your personal passion for cars. Is there a pivotal moment in your life when you knew that you were indeed a car guy?
Oh, I was always into cars. Even baby pictures of me. I had a little plushy NASCAR thing that I used to cuddle. That's always been a thing. I was raised by my mum and nan, and both of them has always said that I'd walk down the street in the pram, or, you know, they'd walk me down the street in the pram, and I could name the different cars as I went along. So
cool.
It's always been something that I've been interested in, and it's always something that everyone around me has said, oh, yeah, he's going to be into cars.
Yeah, it's funny because, you know, I've talked to so many people now on this podcast, and a lot of people say the same thing. And I wonder if there's some I don't know if they've ever identified the car genetic DNA strand that must flow through all of us, but you wonder what it is that certain people are attracted. There's a lot of people that don't like cars. They don't care about cars. I mean, most of my family, whatever, yawn. My dad kind of instilled it because he had a 49 GTC when I was a little boy. That's what bit me.
Talk more about that later.
Well, yeah. That car I found very cool. And I'll tell you why, Richard, is because it was right-hand drive. So I would sit in the left side. He had a spare steering wheel that he would let me hold. And we would pull up next to people. They looked down and see this 5-6-year-old kid driving the car. And then I'd hold the steering wheel up and laugh, and they'd laugh and go, oh, that's pretty funny. But that's what did it for me. But I think going up and down the street in what over there you call the pram, which some of our listeners may go, what is a pram?
Is there another word for that there then?
Well, describe what a pram is for us Yanks over here.
It's a frame on wheels, and there'll be a padded section inside it, and that's where you put a baby.
A baby buggy, or a stroller. Yeah.
Okay. I've learned something new today.
Yes, a baby buggy or a stroller. I guess the stroller would be what most people call it on this side, but pram. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've heard that term. And when you first said it, I went, what is he talking about? And I started, he was okay, it's a stroller, a pram. Okay. And there you go. Well, now we know over here. We know sometimes we have to be educated a little bit because you guys have been around a little longer than we have. So, yeah, most definitely. Well, I always ask my guests, Richard, about a challenge or a failure. And I have a feeling this is where we're going to dive into some mental health challenges that you've had and why you've embarked on this situation. So I'd love for you to take us down that road. But more importantly, what did you learn from that, the positive outcome that came out of that, which I think is fantastic? So kind of walk us through this journey of yours, if you would.
I think the biggest challenge I faced, obviously, I had a mental breakdown in 2013. I had fantastic parents, and I had a great support network through them, which allowed me to sort of start my business and build myself back up and work slowly towards getting back into the swing of it, becoming a good member of society again. However, some of my friends and some of my social circles weren't as supportive with what I was trying to do. And I think that can really knock a person's self-confidence and a belief in their ability. And I know that everybody has people that they know that they can say, yeah, that's not a cool person, but you've got to learn to cut them out of your life. And, surround yourself with good and positive people. And I think once you've surrounded yourself with good, positive people who really push you to be the best you can be and to push yourself, then you really start becoming successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Mental health can be a delicate subject because for many people, I believe, they don't quite understand it. They think, look, if you're having challenges in this way, just snap out of it. Come on, just buck yourself up. Get back to work. Do what you got to do. But that can't be done so easily. So I would love for you, if you can, kind of help those out there that don't understand it, have never been around it or experienced it, or been around somebody that's had mental health issues. Maybe you can help us understand a little bit more of what that's like to go through. And for those folks that weren't so supportive, I'm wondering, did they just not understand, or were they afraid? Were they just not great people? Were they not true friends? Because I think for a lot of people, mental health scares us because we think it's something we can't grasp or get our hands around, or if it happens to us, how do we deal with it? I mean, you get a cold, you take medicine, you blow your nose, you get over it. Very different deal with mental health issues. So can you kind of help us understand that a little better?
Definitely. It's as though your mind is fighting your body a lot of the time. So say, for instance, you have really bad anxiety. So you have panic attacks and things like that. You find yourself, you can't leave the house. Sorry, I'm stuttering. It's like in your head, if you go outside, absolutely nothing bad will happen to you, but something inside your brain switches off and you become incredibly fearful of going outside.
How do you deal with that? And I know it's not as simple, and we can't deal with this issue on a short show like this. But I remember my dad once when I was little, and my listeners have heard this, I was afraid of something. And he said, you know what, Mark? FEAR is an acronym for false evidence assumed real, meaning what you think might happen is an assumption, but it's not real. And that's what you just said to me, is something in your brain says, don't go outside, that's going to be scary or something's going to happen. But you know that it's not. But you're fighting with yourself. You said that earlier. Your brain is fighting with your body in some way. So what are some of the coping mechanisms that you try to instill so that you can work through that and pass that so you don't end up just sitting in your room all day and not doing anything?
Your dad absolutely nailed it with that acronym. The best thing that I've always found is you've got to push through it, but you've got to push through it prepared. So if I'm doing something and I find everything's a little bit overwhelming, I see 5 things, or I list off 5 things I can see, 4 things I can hear, 3 things I can touch, 2 things I can smell, and if applicable, 1 thing I can taste.
Oh.
And that's called earthing. So as long as you know that you're in control of your senses, you're in control.
Wow. I've never heard of that before. That is very interesting. Does that, in essence, what you're saying is like what my father taught me. It's teaching your brain that these things you're worried about are not real because you're grounding yourself. Earthing is a great way to say it. Is that's a coping technique?
It is. Yes. So if ever I'm in a spot now, I do that and I just focus on my breathing. Breathe in through the mouth. Yes. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth.
Out through the mouth. Yeah.
Just nice deep breaths.
You know, I've had friends that have had to deal with anxiety issues, and I've been with them during those times. And you look at them and you're going, "Well, what's happening? Why are you freaking out?" You know, and it couldn't be a number of things. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's something. And one of the things that most of these friends that have dealt with is a breathing technique that they'll just stop, close their eyes, focus, and breathe, get some oxygen into their brain, and take a deep breath and just try to let it out of what is bottled up inside, I guess. But let me ask you this question. If somebody out there listening is dealing with that and they've not talked to anybody about it, they're holding it all in, which has got to be a horrible thing to deal with. What would be your advice for somebody who's dealing with anxiety, depression, any kind of mental health issue?
You've got to talk to someone. It's hands down, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to talk to someone. You know, I appreciate that not everybody wants to go to their friends or to their parents about this sort of thing, but go and see your doctor. They're the best people that are qualified to do this. They're not going to think you're strange or weird. No matter what the symptoms are, they're going to be understanding. They're going to be able to point you in the direction of what you need to do.
Yeah, very, very important. Absolutely. It's like anything. I always say, whether it's a serious issue like a mental health issue, or it's even a minor issue that's just kind of niggling away at you, eating away at you, if you just talk to somebody who's willing to listen and have some empathy for it, maybe not just jump in and tell you how to fix it, because us men, I think us men as guys tend to want to just fix stuff.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I've learned that over 35 years of being married to my wife. Many times she'll say, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen to what's happened to me. My instincts are, well, here, you should have just done this or that. And that's the wrong thing to say. It's always the wrong thing to say. So go to a good listener, find a good listener in your life. And you know what? Many times it could be a female in the case of being a man, because they are better listeners, I think.
Females are definitely more empathetic. Definitely. Men are great, and men can be empathetic. And with some things, you do want to talk to a man about it. But sometimes a female role model or a female person can be better to speak to about it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That's been my experience over time, and my wife is a great listener, and sometimes I'll even talk to her about things that are bothering me, and again, as a man, I want her to give me an answer to fix it, and she won't, and then I'll say, well, don't you have any ideas for me? And she'll say, well, you didn't ask me for that. You just wanted me to listen. That's what I did. So, again, it's a learning on both sides, right?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you taking us down this path. It sounds like for you, you've worked through these challenges. Is this something that you completely overcome in your life, or is it something that can come back, reoccur, or is always kind of there a little bit that you have to work with?
It's always there a little bit, But as time goes on, it becomes so much easier to deal with. And that's something that I'd like to say to anyone out there who's listening, who's sort of suffering with issues and hasn't spoken to anyone about it. No matter how bad it feels now, it will get better. Like, you will learn to deal with it. It will get easier.
Well, thank you for those positive words. And again, anyone out there listening who's dealing with something like this, please go seek some help. A professional would be a great place to start, a physician, and then they can help you work through talking with family members if that's a difficult thing for you and friends. But please do seek help. Do not let this burn through your skull by yourself, because it's a hard thing to get through. So I appreciate you taking us to a very personal part of your life. Let's talk about something that's a little fun here about your first really special vehicle and maybe a memory you have about that ride.
My first really special car was a 1989 Mark III Supra Turbo. It was silver with blue leather interior. It's absolutely lovely. I think my favourite memory was with it. Like I said, I was raised by my mum and my nan, and I got to take my nan out in it for the first time, and she had never been in a fast car before. I opened it up, and there's my very conservative, very down-to-earth nan, and she was she pulled some quite entertaining faces. It was good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny. You can go on YouTube and see all sorts of great videos, especially professional race car drivers taking their spouses or someone out on a track in a race car, and you just see the look on their faces like, oh my gosh, get me out of here. Or they're screaming with thrill.
I found it. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Well, how about seller's remorse? Is there a vehicle you've owned that you wish you had back?
Yeah, I had a great big Mercedes W124 E-Class. It was an estate, so a TE, with the 2.3 litre inline four. I paid £200 for that car.
200? That's it?
Which is about $350?
Well, maybe today's dollars, yeah.
Yeah, an adventure getting it home. Let's just say that. It had a lot of issues. The guy who had it before must have been living in it. The thing was awful.
Oh my gosh.
I really tore that car down, and I put a lot of time and a lot of effort into it. Had it for years. I had it for a good 4 or 5 years. And I sold it when I bought my current car, which is a 202 C-Class with a special interior in it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have the space to keep both of them. But I really wish I'd kept that car. It was fantastic.
Sounds like it. Very nice.
Not exactly cool. It was big and brown, but it was just such a fabulous thing.
Yeah, those Mercedes are cool. I had a guest on the show, J.G. Francis of Mercedes Motoring. He's in Glendale, California. And he was actually on my Cars Yeah TV show as well, or he will be in the fall season 2, I should say. But what he does is he finds really nicely well cared for old 70s, some late 60s and 80s Mercedes. He refreshes them and sells them, and those cars are just workhorses. I mean, they've got that marvelous engine, especially the diesels that'll go 1,000,000 miles. And he kind of gives these cars new life, if you will. He doesn't do big restorations. These are cars that are loved, but he'll redo some interior things and polish up the paint and make them look like a brand new car. And they're just splendid cars. So
they're fantastic.
Built like tanks.
Yeah. They're fantastic, like classic daily drivers, even the ones from the 60s, the big stacked headlight cars.
Yeah.
You could still drive one every day. They're superb.
Oh, yeah. I have a good friend here who lives in the Pacific Northwest, Bill, who's had several 240Ds, and he just found a marvelous in Italy, a 250T wagon.
Oh, lovely.
Only has 3,200 miles. This car was entombed in a garage that had collapsed around it, but the car was undamaged, and it sat in there for 40 plus years. And he found this car. It's a marvelous kind of a avocado green color, if you will. It's got the third rear seat. It's just a spectacular car. You'll see that if you watch the Cars Yeah TV show in the fall with J.G. Francis, but check out his website, Mercedes Motoring. It's absolutely brilliant. I would love for you to talk, though, about your blog, Motorsport for Mental Health, motorsportformentalhealth.com. And I know that this came out of the experience you had with your mental health issues. I would love to hear about how this whole idea came up and how you're helping others through the automotive world with mental health issues.
I've always been a writer. Even since I was a little kid, I was always writing stories. So I knew that I wanted to blog my motorsport experiences, like when I started going to racetracks and things at 16. But it was only getting ill, I linked the two together and I was like, right, okay, this is something I actually need to do. Like, I think people could benefit from, like you say, men don't always want to talk about mental health issues. So I found this would be a good way to sort of spread a bit of awareness, to get people talking, to get people to have those conversations. And it's amazing when you speak to people, how many people have personal stories and how many people have been affected by different things. And they don't always talk about it. But I think it's great to get those conversations started within these little sort of car clubs and, grassroots motorsport events, to get people speaking and to, there could be somebody amongst them who is suffering and is like, I don't want to tell my friends about this. I don't want them to think they're weird. And the more commenters and people that come forward on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and they're like, hey, I really love what you're doing. I've been through this, that, and the other. If I can share those stories and if I can share my own story, then I feel that some of these guys are going to go and seek help, which is what I want them to. I mean, to take it to the extreme, suicide is the biggest killer of males under 40 years old. Or here in the UK it is. And 100% of those deaths are preventable. That's people's sons, brothers, fathers, friends. People will be there if they reach out, but as blokes, we don't want to.
Yeah. So tell me with the blog you do. So you write stories every week. You put them out there and then people can interact with you by communicating with you and talking about, and then do you reshare those stories so that other people can realize it's not just Richard? There's a lot of challenges out there that people are facing, and I'm not alone.
With some people, I always ask permission. Some stories sort of come along and you go, hey, that's really, really interesting. And that's not something I would have covered otherwise. A young lady, funnily enough, B, she had postnatal depression. Not something, obviously, I can't really speak about that. It's not something that I have any experience with. It's not something I really know about, but she was kind enough to come forward and share her story with me. And hopefully some of my female members of the audience can get inspired by that. That she's come through and she's doing fantastically, as are her kids. And it's really nice to hear.
Well, and that is such a difficult thing, I think, for people to understand too, the marvel and joy of having a child. And then how could somebody be depressed about that and not understanding what's going on in someone's body, chemicals, mental, whatever it is doing that's causing those feelings, and the difficulty and the isolation a new mom can feel has to be absolutely horrendous because of, why do I feel this way? I just had a baby. I should be happy. Why do I feel sad? Why do I feel depressed? So I think it's absolutely fantastic. How can people engage with you? How do they follow along with what you're doing?
Motorsport for Mental Health on Instagram. So that's motorsport and then the number 4 mental health. You can follow me there. I always post up new stuff. A lot of not necessarily motorsport stuff at the moment, but we're getting back into it. Facebook, Motorsport for Mental Health. Have a look on the website. Everything's listed on the website, all my social media channels. Just feel free to use whatever's there. Drop me a DM. If you can find me, do search up Richard Francis. I'm always open for friend requests and stuff like that on Facebook.
I'll make sure I put links to all these things that Richard has shared with us today so that you can find this. If you're dealing with something like this, or a friend or family member is dealing with them, have them reach out to Richard. I think it's a starting point, at least, that can help and encourage dialogue. And that's what we all need to do, is have better communication. I always say the lack of communication is the reason for our downfall, and having great communication is the key to our success. It's always when things are going wrong, it's because people are not communicating properly. And when they finally start communicating properly, good things happen. So find out these links on motorsportformentalhealth.com, motorsport, the number 4 mental health on Instagram, and of course, Richard's Facebook page. You can find him there. Richard, up next is the last lap. Before we put the pedal to the metal, let's say thank you to today's Cars Yeah! sponsors. Do you know the best way to protect your vehicle, both the exterior and the interior, is with a car cover? I've been using Covercraft car covers since 1975. That's right, 1975. It's a fast, easy, and inexpensive way to keep your vehicle looking new. Covercraft has been manufacturing premium quality exterior and interior covers for over 50 years with a stellar reputation for durability and design. They're the world's largest manufacturer of custom patterned vehicle covers that are crafted to fit over 80,000 patterns and growing. They are the only cover I'll put on my vehicles. You can choose from a wide variety of fabrics, styles, colors, and more. From full cover designs for factory to custom-made vehicles, plus convertible top covers, trucks, truck cab coolers, motorcycles, scooters, ATVs, trailers, campers, personal watercraft, and a wide variety of custom features. Covercraft is the right choice. Learn more today at covercraft.com and tell them Mark sent you. That's covercraft.com. Are you looking for a way to get your products or services into the ears of thousands of automotive enthusiasts around the globe? I can help. This is Mark Green here at Cars Yeah, and I'd be honored to be an influencer and ambassador for your brand in a unique and personal way. 5 days a week, thousands of subscribers and listeners enjoy the Cars Yeah podcast and website. Contact me today and I'll show you how at mark@carsyeah.com or connect with me through the Cars Yeah website at carsyeah.com. Hey, Mark Green here from Cars Yeah. Did you know you can now see me on the Cars Yeah TV show? It's a weekly visit to some of my past Cars Yeah podcast guests, and I take you along for the ride. You go behind the garage door and into their lives, their businesses, and you get to see what makes them successful. With tens of millions of viewers, Cars Yeah TV is making its mark. Cars Yeah TV is available on MAV TV and Lucas Oil Racing TV. You'll find MAV TV on Direct TV, Fubo TV, Fios by Verizon, or you can stream it through Lucas Oil Racing Television online. And they said I only had a face for podcasting. Okay, Richard, we are back, and I'm going to put you on the analyst couch here a little bit and ask you this very important introspective question. If you were a vehicle, if you were actually manifested as a vehicle, not what you want to be, but how you perceive yourself as a car, what would Richard be and why?
I'm not sure you would have heard of this, but the Aston Martin Signet. It's a little Signet.
Oh, how do you spell that?
Cygnet.
Okay.
It was based off the Toyota IQ, which is a little sort of Japanese K car, city car type thing. But they put an Aston Martin front end on it. Fantastic project, trying to be classy and British, fell flat on its face. That sums me up.
You're an awesome guy, Richard, because you're very open and honest. And the fact that you added that little sign. And as you were talking, I pulled this images of this car up, and I went, okay, it's kind of a smart car meets a Mini meets an Aston Martin meets a buggy.
That's exactly what it is. It's about the same size as a smart car.
Yeah.
It went wrong.
Actually, I kind of like it. I think it's very endearing, just like I find you. So,
you.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I'll encourage people to look this up. Aston Martin Signet, Cygnet. I think you might find it kind of endearing. It's kind of cool. I like the little Mini Coopers. I like the little cars. Smart cars, they're okay. They look dangerous as hell to me, especially on the freeways here in the United States.
They're great fun to drive, though. If you ever get the opportunity, they're brilliant fun to drive.
I have. I got to drive one when I was in Italy at the Ferrari factory. They had a whole bunch of them there and let me take one out and kind of cruise around in it. I still don't know why they wouldn't let me take a Ferrari out. That still disturbs me a little bit, but maybe there was some kind of story behind that one. I don't know. Well, Richard, we are ending the last lap. I'm going to fire off a series of questions and ask you to give our listeners some very quick blips of that Signet throttle. So here we go. What's the best automotive advice you've ever received?
Tires are the only part of the car that touches the floor. Don't overlook them.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are overlooked by a lot of people. Would you share one of your personal habits you believe has contributed to your successes over the years?
Yeah, if I really want to do something, I work at it until it's achieved.
There you go.
In any aspect of life, just got to push through.
There you go. How about a resource? There are wonderful resources, including your blog, of course. Is there a resource you'd like to share with our listeners?
with most of your listeners being based in the US, I thought I'd give a shout out to a good friend of mine, Mario, who runs a company called Demand Transportation Group Incorporated. Okay. Lovely bloke, works out of Florida. If you ever need anything moved, he's your man.
So Demand Transportation Group Incorporated.
Oh, sorry, Demand, D-A-M-A-N.
D-A-M-A-N. Okay, Demand. Okay, like the man, but Demand.
Yeah, the man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. You got to be a little cool to be able to say that company name. So DAMAN Transportation Group Incorporated. I'll make sure I put a link to your friend's website on your show notes page here in the Cars Yeah website. Now, if I could arrange for you to sit down and have a drink or a meal with anyone in the automotive industry, living or deceased, who would that be?
Juan Manuel Fangio. I think his story, sort of doing these long distance races over gravel in Argentina, is just superb. Some of the ingenuity and things that they had to do to get around the challenges they faced, I find really inspiring.
Yeah, what a legacy, what an icon that guy is. I had the fortune of at least saying hello and shaking his hand. He signed a poster for me way back when he was the guest of honor at Laguna Seca during the historic races. This was probably 20 plus years ago, long time ago. And he just was kind of a bigger than life guy.
Yes.
Especially if you knew what he had accomplished in his racing and driving career. Very, very cool. How about a book? Is there a book you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, Enzo Ferrari, A Life by Richard Williams.
Yeah.
The biography of Enzo Ferrari, but it's told really well. It's really interesting.
Yeah, fantastic book. Well, you can find all these links on Richard's show notes page here on the Cars Yeah website. Just go to carsyeah.com, type in Richard Francis, Francis, and that page will pop right up. All right. We're up to the checkered flag. This is a fun one, Richard, but it can be a bit of a doozy. Today, I'm going to buy you any cool collector car on the planet, even that little funky Aston Martin Signet, if that's the car you want. I'm guessing there might be something a little bigger and better here, but there's a couple rules to this deal. One is you can't sell it to buy a bunch of other toys with. It's the only collector car that you can have, and you have to drive it. No garage queens allowed here on Cars Yeah. I want you to take it out on those wonderful roads there in the UK. So what can I buy you today?
This took a lot of time to think about, actually. I think I've narrowed it down to the V12 Jaguar E-Type Coupe.
Oh, nice. But you want the coupe?
Yes, the 4x4. I think with that sloped back, it looks superb. With the V12, it's powerful, can keep up with modern traffic. They're normally auto. And I think wherever in the world I end up living, that car would be suitable.
Well, I think so. I mean,
it's like great in the US for, long distance runs, and right. It's small enough and nimble enough to live in Europe and be usable.
I think so. Now, the V12, they put that in, was it the Series 2 when they started running the V12 in the Jaguar E-Types?
I believe so, yes.
I think they did. And I'll tell you, when I was a kid, junior high school, I had a detailing business, and one of my clients had a wonderful V12 Cabriolet Jaguar E-Type, and I would ride my bike down. I was living in La Jolla, California. I'd ride down to South Mission Beach, and he would let me drive that car back to my house. The thing about that car being a convertible, he never put the top up. He had an actual hard top for it, which was somewhat rare for that car, but he never put the top up on the car. It was always down, and I felt like a king driving that thing. I just loved that car. Now, the coupe, though, what is interesting to me about that car is that is really one of the cars that started my passion for cars. My listeners have heard this ad nauseum, so put up with me here, dear listeners. My dad bought me my very first Matchbox by Lesney, British company, and it was a red Jaguar E-Type coupe. And I still have it. I'm looking at it right here. It's sitting on my desk in front of me. I actually still have the box that thing came in, if you can believe that. Yeah. Wonderful car.
I have a little sort of hobby restoring some of these old Lesney cars. They come up for sale at swap meets and boot sales and things like that. And they're just lovely. I've done the big Jaguar Saloon, the Mark 10, which was around about the same era.
Yep.
But yeah, it'd be nice to get the E-Type.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm not going to send you mine. You can't have it, but I'll send you a picture of it. How's that go?
Perfect.
But I figured you want the real car, not a Matchbox by Leslie, so I'll get to work. Now, what color would you like that E-Type coupe to be?
I saw one at a show once that was silver with red leather interior. That's the spec for me.
Oh, man. Yeah, just an absolutely gorgeous car. And of course, we've all heard Enzo Ferrari said most beautiful car ever made was the E-Type. That's something coming from the mouth of a guy who built Ferraris. So, marvelous car. And that V12, it's just a wonderful engine. Keeping that thing running, though, is a little bit of a bear. Keeping all those carbs in sync. But
oh, yeah.
I'll send yours over with a mechanic. How's that sound?
Lovely. That would be perfect.
I think so. Richard, you've taken us on a very special ride today. I've really enjoyed getting to know you better. I'm so happy you reached out to me. I was actually at the Esoteric Open House when you reached out to me, and the last email conversations we had, I was actually at the airport waiting to come back home, and we set this talk up. I'm so happy that we did and that you've shared your story so we can help some folks out there that need some help and give them a little guidance. Could you offer us a little parting piece of wisdom or guidance before you drive off into the English sunset in that V12 E-Type coupe, silver with red leather hides, of course?
Lovely. I think it's better to try something and to know it doesn't work than to not try it and never know.
Yeah, absolutely. Give everything a try, you know? Well, not everything. Some things are stupid to do, but things that are good for you, give those a try.
Your business. Go out and meet different people. Go on that date. Do what you need to do.
Absolutely. And get out and see the world, because the world is a fantastic place. Get over to the UK. Beautiful country, beautiful people, wonderful people. Shout out to all my UK listeners and my past UK guests here, Inspiring Automotive Enthusiasts. And again, what are the best ways for people to reach out to you and learn more about what you're doing at Motorsport for Health, for mental health?
Motorsport and the number 4 mental health on Instagram, and then Motorsport for Mental Health on Facebook.
There you go.
I think my Twitter is Richard MSFMH, like Motorsport for Mental Health.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I will find those, secure the right ways to access you, and put those on your show notes page here on the Cars Yeah website. Richard, thanks for being so generous today with your time, calling in from across the pond, as we say, over here and over there. This has been a wonderful experience for me. I'm so happy that you've been on the show. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you, my friend, down the road.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Cheers. You take care of your cars, but who takes care of your investments? Tune-ups aren't just for engines. Updating your financial plan is important too. Your GPS may take you from A to B, but it won't help you on the road to financial freedom. For that, you need a good co-pilot and a very trusted advisor. Chris Kimball, CFP, is just the man for the job. He'll guide you down that road without driving you crazy. For over 25 years, Chris has helped people just like you and me with their financial planning and investments. With a master's degree in financial services, he is eminently qualified, and he's a car guy too. Learn more at chrisvkimball.com or call 866-ON-A-PLAN. Securities through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Member FINRA SIPC. CK Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.